The following episode contains approximately 815 spoilers for all seasons and episodes of Lost. You've been warned. Welcome to Lost the Plot. It's a podcast where two Irish lads talk a lot of shite about ABC's Lost. You may be wondering why my speech is like this. It's because I'm still hungover from our last episode.
Man, my fucking head.
Sure, a lot of time has passed in real life, but there's still a shame hangover based on how fucking drunk I got. Let me introduce my co-host before we go any further. You might know him. If you know him, you certainly love him. It's Ado. Ado, how's it going, man?
As I said, you see, you said a lot of real time has passed since Paddy's Day.
Well,
I haven't stopped.
Okay, well, full disclosure, we recorded that episode, about
behind the scenes?
I guess it was about 2 weeks ago now, real time, but we're recording this one the day before actual St. Patrick's Day. I'll let you talk about your post experience after that episode in a sec. Let me quickly just mention mine because I know mine is briefer. We finished that episode. I was incoherently drunk. You can tell because I went and puked my ring up right afterwards. And I also was babbling and just making no sense at all. My closing theory, that episode made no sense. Charlie doesn't have a nephew. He has a niece. I mentioned something about Charlie's nephew. Who knows what I was thinking, man. What about you, Ada? How you been since last record?
Well, I will just respond initially and say that you don't sound that bad in last week's episode, but by the end of the episode, but I think that's mostly thanks to the edit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I cut out a lot of incoherent, like just nonsense. It wasn't. I know some people might think, "Oh, I wish you had left that in," or like I didn't cut it out of any sort of shame, although there was shame. I cut it out because it was just boring. It just wasn't entertaining. I was making no sense at all, making points that were not points. Yeah, it was tough to edit.
Yeah, it was fun to record, though. That's the important thing.
It was. I had a great time.
Well, I got drunk that night as well. Did the recording, got more drunk on the recording. I think I kept it together pretty okay.
Yeah, and thank God you did, because you were hosting that episode.
I mean, you can still tell in certain parts that, your boy Ado is slipping a bit over the edge. But no, I was fine for the most part. Woke up the next morning, little bit sluggish, but I took my usual cocktail, my Cure cocktail, and it had me right as rain in about half an hour. That is, if you haven't heard me say it before, here it is now, right?
Drop that cocktail.
Lucozade Sport and vitamin B. There you go.
Now, for our listeners outside of Ireland and the UK, our listeners in the United States or in Iraq who may not have access to Lucozade, what can they substitute for that?
Usually what you'll find is Gatorade.
Yeah, or a Powerade.
Or Powerade, yeah. I mean, we have Powerade as well, but shit, it's a lot less flavorful. I shook it off the next day, went to work, all that jazz. But then only like a day or two later, I caught what I thought was COVID-2 electric boogaloo, right?
Oh, dear.
I was so confident because I went into work like on Saturday. And while I'm in work, walking around, being, myself, I don't know where I was going with that sentence, but I just started realizing, it's really fucking cold in here. And I said it to a colleague of mine. I said, are you freezing? And they were like, no, I'm taking off my jacket. It's like way too hot in here. And I'm like, this is a problem. like I knew there and then everyone else is sweating and I'm freezing and I'm shaking. And I'm like, yeah, that's not right.
Not a great sign.
Yeah, so I got a fever that evening. Temperature spiked. It was horrendous. Couldn't sleep, puddle of sweat, all this shit.
And more cowbell didn't help.
No, I had a fever and the cure was not cowbell. Had that fever for like 2 days. Now, I say for 2 days. It broke after like 12 hours and then it came back a few hours later. It was rough. But
I'm going to interject here and just say something I said off air before we started recording. This podcast has been really bad for your health.
I find that I just keep complaining about my health issues.
I mean, it was only last week you were complaining about throwing out your back. Do you usually get this sick? Are you this like injury and illness prone?
I never thought I was. Maybe I am.
I guess maybe we're just drawing more attention to it with the podcast, but yeah.
Yeah, because we now live our lives spending every week thinking, okay, this could be good content for next week, right? I could bring this up. But no, I took antigen tests and all this shit. It was not the COVID. It was not that virus. It was just a normal, plain old, stupid fucking head cold. Stupid.
It wasn't COVID 20, the sequel.
Well, wouldn't it be COVID 2022?
Oh my God, can you imagine if the patient zero of the next pandemic was in Ireland?
The holy mortifying shame of it.
Paddy's Day would take on a whole new meaning. Nobody would like it anymore.
Do you know what? If it wanted to go the Final Fantasy route of being a sequel, it would be called COVID-19 2. There's a niche fucking reference for you.
So you're feeling better now?
Better is definitely the operative word. I'm not at 100%, but yeah, making my way downtown, walking faster.
Come here to me now and tell me this. Do you have any stories from the week? We're desperate for content this week because we're covering a Kate episode, so we should be out of here in about 30 minutes.
Outside of rubbing me nose and beating me meat like it owes me money, I have nothing from the past week.
I have a little rant if you'll allow me.
Oh, you know I do enjoy a good rant. Go on. I have me hot tea in front of me. Go.
Really quick now, really quick. I just want to say, this is going to seem quite random, but something like you said, we're always mining our brains and lives for content. And this is something I thought of during the week. It's about the act of yawning. You know, you're familiar with yawning. Have you had a yawn recently? I just wanted to say.
You are milking this. Episode 22. We are scraping the barrel.
This is all I ask. Can we please, as a society, as a culture, as a species, can we divorce the association of yawning and boredom?
Oh, yes.
I think maybe most people would be on my side here. Maybe there's very few people left who still associate them. But if you're yawning, you're fucking tired, okay? You could be watching like the most interesting movie you've ever seen. You could be in one of the most compelling conversations of your life. If you slept 4 hours last night, you're going to yawn. And it's not rude. I don't even think it should be perceived as rude anymore because the perception of it being rude is based on the misconception and the misassociation with boredom. Do you know what I mean? This was inspired because my girlfriend was talking to me and I hadn't slept well the previous night. And while she was talking, I yawned and she went, "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I boring you?" And I was like, "No, you're absolutely not. I just didn't sleep last night."
With the prior knowledge that she listens to this podcast, good save.
No, but seriously, that is the problematic view right there because she would not think that if yawning had never been associated with boredom. And my argument is that it never should have been associated with boredom. Yawning happens for one reason and one reason only, as far as I know. I haven't looked this up or fact checked it. It's because you're tired, right?
Yeah, mostly because you're tired. I mean, that story that you just told, it's so reminiscent of one that sticks out in my mind. I remember I was left home alone, idiotic decision, even as an adult, leaving me at home alone, unsupervised, bad idea. But I was a kid. I was like in my early teens. My dad was at work. My mother was gone, probably to work, whatever.
Your parents had seen the movies and they're like, he'll be grand. He'll just set up a rake of traps.
Yeah. And my mother told me she'll be home at this time. Make sure to have the chicken out defrosted by the time she got home. Now, you know where this is going. Mother came home. Chicken was still in the freezer. She wasn't the best pleased. And she said the words. You know the words, right? Or probably you don't. Your parents split up. But the words.
Ouch. That's like cool, man.
That
You're split up as an adult, okay? Yeah.
But the words that instill fear in the hearts of many children around the world. And those words are, wait till your father gets home.
Oh, okay. Okay. My mom would still deploy that. You would have thought she would have lost her privileges, but my parents stayed good friends and she would still obviously not wait till your father gets home. That would have been insensitive, but she threatened to tell my dad about stuff because she knew I was more scared of him than I was of her.
So my dad comes home, he hears the full story and he is pissed. He is in my face, shouting.
Because he's not getting his chicken dinner.
No, it's probably because I gave a little bit of back talk, to the parents, as I did. Smarmy little teenager thinks he knows everything, right? Like, I mean, I was a bollocks. I was an absolute little bollocks at the time. I was a troublemaker. So
if I recall, and this is a story for another time, you had to come and stay at my house once because you gave a bit of lip and were ejected from the premises, basically.
That is a different story. But I remember my dad being so pissed off at me, like he was in my face, finger in my face, shouting, and I yawned. Now, in that moment, let me tell you, my dad, to this day, has never laid hands on me. But my fucking God, he came close that day.
That is akin to something like leeching someone to get rid of bad blood or something. It's based on complete misinformation. Like my parents grew up in Ireland in the mid 20th century. It was a third world country, essentially, right? They went to school in the very late 60s and all through the 70s and early 80s. Kids in their school, from stories they told me, would get raps on the knuckles for yawning in class.
Yeah, but if I believed half those fucking stories my parents told me, it was uphill both ways to school and back in the snow, barefoot, 14 miles. So
my mom's friend, she lives in Canada now, but she grew up in Ireland, claims, and I have no reason to doubt her, that in her classroom, the teacher had a coffin and naughty children were made to lie in the coffin and were closed in.
Isn't that almost taken directly from Roald Dahl's Matilda?
Ooh.
The principal of the school had a special room called the Chokey that they made kids stand in.
Well, this was a lie down situation to hear her tell it, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to call her a liar live on air.
I have a friend who did that. I have a friend who used to sleep in a coffin. They probably still do, I think, actually. No, when I say they do, I suspect that they do. And that suspicion is based entirely on the fact that they're ginger. Now, I'm not sure. There's very little scientific evidence for this, but I just strongly suspect it.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, I was fully ready to believe, because of your sort of gothy nature and the gothiness of a lot of the people you associate with, I was fully sure you were going to tell me you had a friend who identified as a vampire.
Actually, fun fact, I do. I genuinely do. But it's not like they believe they turn into a bat or their spirit animals a bat or anything like that. No. It's a kind of a new age application of the term, and it has its own set of meanings or whatever. But no, yeah, I absolutely do know somebody who 100% straight face identifies as a vampire.
Oh dear. All right. Well, maybe we can get him on the podcast sometime to talk about it. Maybe next Kate episode when we're desperate for more content. Hey, speaking of Kate episodes, we should get into it, right?
Yes, I am ready to get into this episode, and I have done all my research for it. I'm excited for this.
What research? I'm hosting this week.
I know, therefore my research is sweet. Fuck all.
Sure, you've done it all. Yeah, we don't have a listener email this week, unfortunately. Hey, man, next week is our finale, so get those emails in ASAP, because you won't be able to reach us, or okay, you'll be able to reach us all the time, but you won't be able to have your email read out till next season, motherfucker, if you don't get it in soon.
And I swear to fuck, if we come back to an empty inbox in season 2.
If we come back to an empty inbox, I'm going to start identifying as a vampire. All right, Ada, fuck it, let's do it. Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Well, then let's go. This week, we are, first of all, abandoning that hungover energy from the opening segment.
Oh, yeah.
And we're covering season 1, episode 22 of Lost, entitled Born to Run, which first aired the 11th of May, 2005. Ada, what do you reckon that title is a reference to?
I don't think there's any real hidden meaning or symbolism in this. It's clearly just a reference to Kate. How not only does she like to run all the time, metaphorically, I'm saying, but she has to. She always has to. It's in her nature. It's in her blood. She was born to run. In
terms of the context of the episode, you're spot on. In terms of cultural references, you're completely wrong. The title is a reference to the album and song by one Bruce Springsteen.
Ah, of course. How could I forget? The old boss.
The boss himself. The song, Born to Run, speaks of a couple who, like young Kate and Tom in this episode, dream of driving away from their small town. So we have some thematic relevance to both the boss and the episode there.
Do you know what I've learned? The day you drive away from your small town, life becomes a hell of a lot more fucking expensive. So caution to the listeners.
This episode is directed by our old pal Tucker Gates.
Go man, Mr. Gates.
All reliable. Just we know him and love him by now. Can't remember the last time we saw him, but it surely hasn't been that long.
The Master Geisher. I don't know. I was trying to make something out of that.
So speaking of our boy, this episode was not written by him, but it was based on a story by our boy Javier Grillo-Marchois. So he came up with sort of the broad strokes, I'm guessing. But the episode was credited to the writers are newcomers, and it's a writing duo, a partnership. They have been writing together their entire careers up to this day. It's two lads named Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz.
You know, here's the thing. These two as writers together, I don't know how they do it, because you've got people like, I don't know, the Russos, you've got the Wachowskis. Like, there's so many of these duos. I don't just like, I mean, I know they're directors as well, but they write, you know, a lot of their own stories as well. I don't know how writers are able to do this, like work in pairs, because to share your writing with another person is so intimate. Like, I can't think of another word for it. That there's people who are able to do it just so comfortably in a partnership.
I couldn't agree more. I think based on my own personal experience, because I've written in groups, which I find really good. I have attempted to write in duos before, and it works better for comedy than it does for drama. I really can't see how I would make it work for drama.
Well, clearly not for this fucking show. Any tips on how we can be funny?
Write to us, lostplotlads@gmail.com.
Hey.
So these two boys, Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz, this is their first episode, like I said, newcomers, but they would stay on with Lost until the very end of the series. They wrote episodes in season 6, these boys. Fair play to them. They also wrote the movie Tron Legacy later.
Ooh, good movie.
And they both co-created the fantasy series Once Upon a Time, which you might have heard of because it is a show that features some lost actors and a couple of hidden references thrown in there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I believe Emily DeRaven has a starring role in that show. She's certainly main cast if she's not the leading lady. Something you'll appreciate as well. I couldn't find any information on this from recently because basically these dudes have signed some kind of contract with Disney Plus, and I can't tell. They're writing a new series for them now, so I can't tell if they abandoned this original idea, but they originally signed on to write a prequel series to Beauty and the Beast for Disney Plus.
No. Really?
It was billed as a prequel series to the sort of live action remake. So don't worry, you're precious. You're for people who don't know, which is probably everyone listening, you're a big fan of the original animated Beauty and the Beast Disney movie, right?
I mean, shit, I'm even a fan of the live action remake Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, you're talking about like a prequel series to Beauty and the Beast. I don't know how that's going to work, but do you know what? Power to them.
Well, so like I said, that might have been abandoned because they're working on some other project for Disney Plus now. It's a TV show based on fairy tales or some shit. They might just fold their Beauty and the Beast ideas into that. Who knows? Fucking Hollywood. So let's get into the episode. We open on a cornfield and we pan across to a motel. Straight off the bat, I'm going to say bit of trivia about this at the end.
Okay. Oh, man. I love it when you tease the trivia.
Yeah.
Trivia is my favorite bit.
It's great to do about the random things as well. Like that sentence I said, you probably didn't expect me to say a bit of trivia about that. It's the little things that you don't expect trivia about, and when they pop up, it's fucking great.
All right.
Anyway.
Hold on a sec. I just want to let the listeners in on something really quick. One of the decisions we made before we started this podcast was that we're going to alternate hosting duties each week, right? But we also agreed amongst ourselves that whoever was hosting would research all the trivia and the other person wasn't. They had to react to it as if they'd never heard it before because they're not supposed to have heard it before. I always thought I would be so bad at that. Like I would have to go and look up the trivia and just pretend I'd never heard it before on each episode. But I am loving it this way. Like, I have no idea what you're going to say about this fucking motel. My guess, my theory, I know it's a bit early for my theory.
Oh, please. Yeah, okay. I'd love to hear
My
this.
theory is that someone is going to have been murdered in this hotel, right? It just,
Ooh.
I don't know. It just looks it. It just looks like the type of place.
You're in the right ballpark. You're in the right
Shit!
ballpark.
No way.
But it's still not going to be what you expect.
All right.
Some people who watch the scene might pick up on the trivia point immediately. Let me tease it that way. And also, I kind of like this as a thing where if one of us mentions during the summary of the episode that we have a bit of trivia about this, the other one tries to guess what it is.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe we can implement that going forward. So we're in this motel car park. We have this blonde lady pulling up in an open top car. We don't get a look at her face, but from the top, and is it just me? Kind of looks like Claire.
I wouldn't have said so. No.
I thought the hair was very similar to Claire. The car looks like it's been fucking through it. You know, there's splashes of mud across it. It's not like banged up or anything, but it just looks like it's been off-road or something, right? There's a Nebraska license plate on it. The mystery lady steps out of the car. She opens the boot, and then she opens the world's least hidden compartment. Quick little story about that. It's like a little, I don't know, what would you call that? Like kind of a trap door in the bottom of the boot. You take off the cover basically, and there's a compartment in there. My ma had one of those in her car when we were growing up, when I was a teenager.
Held the spare tire?
No, even better. She had an '07 Toyota Prius, if I recall correctly. And she used to have to leave the junk food out there, like all the bars and stuff she bought, because if she left it in the house, me and my brother would fucking hoover it up.
Brilliant.
To this day, I don't buy junk food when I go shopping, because if it's in the house, I will have it ate within an hour. I have to just piecemeal it out to myself by going to the shop to buy it.
You see, that's my secret. I never ever bring junk food in the house. I have it eaten before I get home.
Yeah, same. You and me both. Anyway, she opens this poorly hidden compartment, and there is a rake of like Midwest license plates in there.
How the fuck did she get all of these without like any suspicion on it?
I spotted Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, Idaho, Minnesota. So we're fucking Midwest as fuck here. This is middle America. These are flyover states. The lady takes one out, which I believe she takes out the Ohio one. It's hard to see it at first, but I think we see it later on. And then she begins to screw off the Nebraska plate that's on the car to replace it with the Ohio room. We pan over to a motel room. A couple of kids come out the room. They're baiting each other, arguing away. Dad's taking up the rear with the suitcases. Housekeeping happens by. She enters a room, and the blonde lady, we have a tracking shot behind her. She walks past the cart and she grabs a towel and some toiletries from the housekeeping cart.
She knows what she's doing. She's being sneaky, and she's well versed in it.
She's rehearsed. She goes into a room down the ways a bit, sticks the do not disturb sign on the door. She gets the top off, and then she starts dyeing the out hair.
Which is the most bizarre fucking decision I've ever seen a woman make, considering that is the single worst wig I have ever seen in my life.
Right.
I'm watching this scene and I'm like, why are you dyeing a wig?
Yeah. They could have just made it a wig. I don't understand why they had to. Anyway, she's dyeing the hair. She hops in the shower. Again, let me give you another hint here. The bit of trivia I have from the start, it continues in this scene.
Right.
Okay. I'm just going to drop that now. So we cut to her in the shower. We cut to her washing her face. And it's your girl, Kate, as we know her, with the brown hair. And everyone's heart sinks.
Kate is mad about getting her kit off in this series, isn't she? If I didn't know who it was before, as soon as the top came off, I was like, that's Kate.
I remember back in Tabula Rasa, the second episode of this podcast, you talked about how Kate episodes didn't do anything for you. And I had some rosy memory of them. Like I was like, come on, man. Like Kate's a good character. And I still don't think she's a bad character. But fuck me, every Kate flashback episode this season, I think those are the 3 worst episodes of the season.
Without a doubt.
They're not great, are they?
I don't know what it is. Like they're the slowest or something.
They're slow. The flashbacks always seem pretty pointless. I don't really care about the things they show us.
Yeah, like Kate's flashbacks are all, you could nearly take them all as self-contained little stories that don't have any relation to each other almost, but they do have this connection of her being a criminal, being on the run. And I don't know, on paper it should work. They're just fucking soul draining.
Yeah. I agree. It seems like the writers are taking the long way around to not telling us what she did.
Kate episodes in Lost are kind of like having a shag when you're really tired. You're enjoying it for the principle of the thing, but about halfway through, you're like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
About halfway through, you're thinking, I'm putting in much more work than her here. Anyway, Kate finishes up in the shower. We cut to her. She goes to the lobby to have a little chat with the receptionist. And she tells him she's expecting a letter for Joan Hart, which is the fake name she's going by in this episode.
So we've heard her go by Maggie, Annie, and now Joan.
Joan Hart. A little bit of trivia for that at the end.
Has to be related to Melissa Joan Hart, right?
Oh, good man. Good man. There you go.
I've no idea what it could be, but yeah, okay, go on.
Excellent powers of deduction.
Melissa Joan Hart, anything even related to her is going to ping in my brain because one, huge childhood crush of mine. And then she kind of jumped onto my radar again in recent years because she's weirdly fundamentalist Christian now.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, the way, I forget the name of it. There's like this Christian, like this fundamentalist Christian TV station over in the States that just has like these movies about God. Like, what is the name of that movie? Kevin Sorbo's in it, I think. God's Not Dead. And just God's Not Dead too. Melissa Joan Hart, I think, is in those.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering what happened to her career. That explains why she's not on my radar at all.
Sorry. I interrupted. Please continue.
No worries. It's a Kate episode. Anything else we can talk about is it's just fine with me. So yeah, she's going by the alias Joan Hart, and your man has a letter for her. He seems like in disbelief. He's like, holy shit. It's like the postman never does anything right in this town.
Okay, as someone who has worked front desk at a hotel for many years, I can tell you that if someone says they're expecting a letter and they're expecting us to have it, you can bet your whole I am surprised as fuck that I'm able to find it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Shit goes missing so often. I have told people so many times in the past, I'm sorry, I just don't have it. It wasn't handed in, it wasn't delivered. Oh, you're lost and found? It was never recovered.
I wouldn't be brimming with confidence posting a letter to a motel where I know someone's only going to be staying for a little while.
Yep.
So yeah, fair enough. Good insight. So Kate takes the letter and then she reads it in her car. And there's first of all, there's a wad of cash in the envelope.
Oh shit, I never saw that.
Yeah, she's holding like a fuckload of dollar bills, y'all. I don't know if they're dollar bills, it might be 20s, I can't really remember. But more notably, she is bawling her eyes out as she reads this letter.
And we do get to see the letter a little bit, but we're not really given much of an opportunity to read it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of blurred out. Evangeline Lilly likes crying her eyes out as much as she likes getting her kid off in this show. We get a lot of Kate crying scenes.
And it's such a shame she's shit at both. She gets her kid off in this episode with her back to the camera, and then she starts crying in reaction to this letter, and it's like the least convincing crying I've heard in a long time.
Really? Okay, I'm not going to endorse this. I think Evangeline Lilly is a great actor. I don't think the writers give her a whole lot to do with Kate, but I think she makes the best of it.
No. Hands in the air, and I will absolutely say Evangeline Lilly, I might disagree with her politics and all this shit. Great actor.
Mm-hmm.
She is great. In this scene, I found her incredibly unconvincing, though.
Interesting. Because she's really turning the waterworks on. She's crying pretty hard. We cut back to the island. We're done with that flashback. And Kate's flying her toy plane, reminding us why we're not excited for an episode focused on her. The last one was surrounded the big payoff was this fucking plane.
I wonder if we'll learn any more about it.
And as if things couldn't get any worse, fucking Charlie shows up and he's got his guitar. And he starts bragging about Drive Shaft sales numbers. And he's sort of setting the stage for his comeback album. You know, I think we might have posited this as a jokey theory before that he could get a great fucking bit of sales out of this from his death. He even mentions that himself, right?
Yeah, he's got this great theory that, you know, since the plane crash, he's gone missing. Drive Shaft fucking, you know, music sales have skyrocketed and he returns now. Man, do you know what? That is a nice position to be in if you were guaranteed to be rescued.
Not Penny's boat. But Charlie is confident AF in the fucking raft. He's convinced that it's going to work.
Look at that thing. It's a boat.
He might as well be fucking ironing his shirts, like ready to fucking step off into a press conference at this point. He's convinced it's going to work. And speaking of the raft, we notice that there's a little bit of commotion coming from that general direction. Charlie and Kate notice this as well. They look over and Michael seems to be arguing with this character who we quickly learn is a character named Arts.
Yeah, and holy shit, I forgot he existed. So even though this is his only little scene in this episode, he comes back and he's great.
Yeah, he's a character from here on out. For now, he's a random red shirt, similar to Sullivan, that red shirt that they gave lines to before, and then he disappeared and never showed up in any other episode. Thank God, says us. But Arts does come back. Like I said, he's arguing with Michael. He's telling the raft crew that they won't be able to launch for another 3 or 4 months. Sawyer confirms that his name is Arts. Arts is insistent. He says he's a doctor, and he says that Sawyer is a hillbilly.
Well, he's not wrong.
Sawyer quickly corrects him and he says that he's a high school science teacher. Arts, that is, not Sawyer. Sawyer is not a high school teacher. However, Arts seems to kind of know his shit here. He's mentioning how monsoon season is nearly upon them. How the trade winds are going north for now, which is where they want to go. But once monsoon season hits, those winds will do a 180 and they'll be going south. And he ends his explanation with a question, like any good teacher. He goes, "What's the only body of land south of here?"
And Jack pipes up with the correct answer, I believe.
Antarctica, exactly. So like I said, Art seems to know his shit. He seems pretty confident here. A little bit of trivia about that later on. So Mike says, "Give it to me straight, Doc. When do we have to leave?" And Art says, "Ideally, they had to leave yesterday."
Encouraging.
Mike fucks off down the beach and Kate gives chase to him. And she's sort of peppering him with these questions. And Mike asks, why the sudden interest? And Katie reveals that she wants on that raft, baby.
Why would he be fucking asking a question like that? It's so obvious.
Yeah, right. She's not subtle. We get our title card and then we cut back to the same conversation. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. Like, Kate wants on the raft. That's what you're going to use as your cut to commercial cliffhanger. Okay. But Mike says the raft is full. And Kate says she spent 2 summers crewing J-boats. What's a J-boat?
I have no idea what a J-boat is.
Huh.
I know what a U-boat is. Germans used them quite a bit once upon a time.
Oh dear. Yeah, so she's trying to pitch herself here. She says she spent the 2 summers crewing J-boats. She knows her way around a ship. And then, why shouldn't I be on it? Why should anyone else be on it more than me? And then there's kind of a low blow here. Kate questions whether Walt should be on it, whether it's responsible to bring him on it. And Mike fucking puts his foot down. He says, hell no. Raft full. Fuck off.
I get that she's trying to convince Mike to leave the son behind to make room for her on the boat. But it's actually a legitimate argument. Like, is bringing your son out on the high seas in the South Pacific Ocean, not knowing where you're going, limited supplies on that fucking thing, is that really safe for the boy?
I agree. I think Michael is determined to get him off the island, and this determination is sort of blinding him from the practicality of it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I was in Mike's shoes, I'd actually stay on the island and send someone else off on the boat.
But hey, he's put all this labor in. It's his pet project. It's his baby. And Kate wants on so she can run, clearly. I mean, they discuss this more later in the episode, but I think it's pretty obvious. We get a flashback. And Kate's walking through a hospital and she's got a handful of flowers, a bouquet, if you will, not a handful.
Well done.
And she tells the nurse that she has a delivery for Diane Jansen, asks her where she can find her. And the nurse directs her to room 208. She's walking down the hall towards room 208, presumably. There's a cop sitting outside a hospital room. And Kate gets a little bit spooked. This cunt looks like a fucking Canadian Mountie. Like he's got one of those, what do you call them, those wide brim hats. Kate hides behind the flowers. And then we cut to a parking garage and there's a doctor walking around and he's unlocking his car with the pew pew thing. What is that called? I was trying to remember. I can't remember what you call that kind of
key fob.
There's a word for it though. It's like central locking or something.
Bluetooth locking.
Bluetooth,
I don't know.
Infrared. I don't know. It's so ubiquitous now that I've forgotten what you actually call it. And he gets into his car anyway, and then he hears, "Hey Tom," from the back seat, and he fucking scares the life out of him.
Man, this is such a hackneyed thing in so many movies and TV shows. If I was getting into my car, I would see instantly before I even get near the car if there's a full-grown adult just sitting in the back seat.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. Especially if she's sitting upright. She didn't really seem to be hiding at all. And the doctor recognizes her, seemingly. He calls her Katie. And he looks happy, but surprised as fuck to see her, presumably because he knows that she's on the run. He asks Kate what she's doing there. And she says that someone named Diane is dying of cancer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Diane was the patient she asked after earlier on. And Tom says, "I'm sorry." And Kate says, "Me too," which is, I believe, is going to become a motif because Kate said that to Jack before about his father. Jack responded the same thing. I think I brought up at the time that I remember that being the first instance of that trope. And now I'm thinking maybe it just happens a lot in Lost. And that's what I was thinking of.
Maybe.
So Tom asks, "What the fuck you doing here, girl?" And she says she needs his help. And we're left to ponder what she might need from this doctor dude. Back on the island, Jin is working, as per. He's working on the raft when Sun approaches him. And Jin can barely make eye contact here. And he keeps working. And Sun asks him if he's really going to go on the raft. And he says, "Yes, I am." And Sun fucks off. I guess message received. Anything to say about that scene?
I love the inclusion of that little scene. It actually serves a much bigger purpose in the general context of the story that this singular episode is trying to tell. And we will find out more later on. it's Sun showing that even though she's been totally fine to not talk to Jin for like the last, I don't know, 82 episodes or however fucking long it's been, right? She's perfectly been happy to let him stomp off and work on the boat with the rest of the boys and, not talk to her husband. Like, that's totally normal. But she comes up to him and is like, "You're definitely going." She actually does give a shit. But then he doesn't respond. So she insists, "Please talk to me." And he does. But the tone in his voice is so important because he's not angry. You'd expect him to still be pissed at her because he hasn't gone back to her at all, but he's not. And I feel like a lot of the vitriol has ebbed away a bit, maybe between them. Like, this is fertile ground for them to make up if ever there was a right time to do it.
You're right. And this scene serves a bigger purpose as well, because I think it's the writers trying to say, listen, don't worry, there'll be scenes in this episode without Kate as well, we promise. So then we cut to Jack, and he's being led through the jungle by Saeed.
Oh, Council of Legends. Here we go.
Yeah. Legends assemble. And Jack stops, and he refuses to go any further if Saeed won't tell him what the crack is. And then Johnny Locke emerges from the trees, and the council is in session. Johnny Locke says it was his idea. He asked Saeed to bring him out there. And Locke tells Jack that he wants him to have an open mind about what he's about to show him.
And then still doesn't tell him what he wants to show him. Instead, ominously just beckons him further into the undergrowth. Now, being led by one man to meet another man in the jungle and then being told you need to keep an open mind, I would have been suspicious here, right?
Yeah.
I'd have been clenching my arse cheeks.
I bet that's what he told Boone the first time he let him out into the jungle.
Ooh.
But anyway, it turns out it's the fucking hatch. The secret is out.
They've told Jack now. They've told the de facto leader of the camp. Yeah, secret's out.
And Jack is appropriately fucking blown away by this. I loved his reaction here because he's like, what the fuck? He's the voice of the audience here. He asks Locke what this thing is, and Locke says, exactly. And then he says it's time that they talked about it.
But even in that scene, just pay attention to the look on Jack's face. He looks like he still wants to deck Locke.
Yeah, 100%. He's not, the water has not been swept under the bridge yet.
No.
We cut back to Mikey, and he's working on the raft, and Sawyer's complaining about Jin, who he called Sulu, which is a racist reference to Star Trek.
What is it with Sawyer and all these fucking racist references?
Yeah, he doesn't hold back on them.
No, he's a piece of work.
And Jin is packing a hape of salted fish, and Sawyer's complaining about it, saying it's a dumb idea because they can just fish while they're out there. And then Mike says that it's a really fucking good idea. And he starts to ask Sawyer if he even knows what the fuck he's doing. And he's sort of questioning his place on the raft.
And you can see the saplings grow now from the seeds that Kate has planted in Mike's head earlier on.
Yeah, this is the good sort of part of this Kate episode, is that if nothing else, she's quite good at manipulating people. And Sawyer, first of all, he calls Mike Mickey, which is great. And he asks Mickey if he's going to vote him off the boat. Nice little reference to Survivor, a show that Lost was pitched as a combination of, along with Castaway and Gilligan's Island. And Mickey says nothing. And Sawyer asks, hey, who'll go instead of me? And we cut to Kate, appropriately.
The show does that so often where a scene will end with a character going, who? Or, questioningly referring to another character. And then it just cuts to that character. Like, it answers the question for you by showing you the answer.
Yeah, it's a pretty tried and true cinematic trope, I guess.
Yeah, it works.
Nowhere is that done better, and they sort of send it up almost in the TV show Archer. Have you watched that?
No.
Okay, Archer's just really good for it. They'll do the first line of dialogue from the next scene over the end of the last scene, and it's usually sort of played as a joke. But yeah, we cut to Kate. She's burning a passport.
I never noticed what it was she was burning.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I never paid attention.
And astute viewers will notice that she is burning it specifically at the photograph, which I think this is clever as fuck, this bit.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Sawyer sort of hardy walks up to her. Do you know what I mean? He's like sauntering like a hard man fucking from Mullingar town. And he asks what the hell she's at. And Kate plays real cute because she momentarily, I think, she thinks that he's sus about the passport, but he's actually just pissed off because Mike told him that she wants this place on the raft. Sawyer's place, that is. And Kate tries to blow him off, but Sawyer grabs her arm pretty threateningly. And he says that he knows well what she's up to. And Sawyer has pretty much figured out that Kate is a fugitive. And honestly, I was kind of thought that had already been established, but okay.
Well, not everybody knows everything, but a lot of characters do know some things. It's kind of hard to keep track of who knows what.
Yeah, which Hurley points out later in this episode.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it was just laid out here, and it made me realize that I assumed Sawyer knew, and I guess he didn't. But he's deduced it, like we said. So he lays out his theory, and then he says, I get it, but you're not getting my spot. And I was wondering here, have we discussed this before? They kind of try to answer this at the end of the episode, but I don't know that I was super satisfied with the answer. Why does Sawyer want to get on this boat so bad?
Yeah, I don't have any really good answer for you on that one.
Neither do the writers.
He's just desperate to get back to the real world and con people out of real money.
I always thought because of his like hedonistic enjoyment of his time on the island that I think I posited this before, but he seems like the type of guy who would be happy to wait to be rescued rather than risk his life on the boat. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reading him wrong there.
The only theory I've got is it's to do with the letter. He's so determined to deliver the letter to, who he's looking for, the con man, supposedly, right? The OG Sawyer.
That is sort of his motivating drive, isn't it? He's determined to do that. Yeah, okay. I'll take that. But Kate verbally bitch slaps him back. She says, if I want your spot, I'll get your spot.
Now, you say verbally bitch slaps him. Like, that is the weakest shit I've heard in a long time.
I don't know. I thought she was pretty
If I want it,
was...
I'm going to get it. I'm like, all right.
We're back to Jin and Mickey, and they're on the raft again. And Walt shows up, and he hands Mike some water. Oh, shit.
Water.
Yeah, not gonna lie. I don't know that I would have noticed that the first time, but I saw this when I was doing my research. Someone making that point. This small gesture could be very relevant for later on in the episode.
Wait, hold on. Who hands him the water?
Walt hands Mike some water.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said Jin hands him some water. No, yeah, 100%. I remember it was Walt handing him the water because, of course, Walt doesn't know whose water bottles are who. And listeners, if you haven't seen the episode and you don't know what I'm talking about, the fuck you doing, right? Come on.
And then Walt asks the question that I just asked. He says, oh, why does Sawyer want to get on this raft so badly? And Mike replies, because he knows it's going to work, which is a very Mike answer. He's sort of like blindly optimistic about this shit, right? He's really like, rationality doesn't enter into it at all.
I mean, I think when it comes to, say, the motivation for Sawyer wanting to get off the island, oh, excuse me.
Oh, you bored?
Fuck you. The best that the show is going to give us in terms of an explanation right now is that, well, their best other option is being trapped on an island. They don't want that anymore, do they?
Yeah, true. But Mike is taking a real, like, fortune favors the brave attitude here.
Yeah, it's a little bit foolhardy, I think. I mean, he's just so caught up in, my boy can't be on this island anymore, that he's risking a lot.
He's a bit like John Locke in this way. I mean, I don't know that I would have drawn a lot of parallels between Mike and Locke, but in this sense, they're both quite similar. They're dealing in destiny.
Well, dealing in destiny with a very blinkered tunnel vision.
Absolutely. And then Walt asks if they're going to come back for the rest of the survivors. And Mike is sort of like, he shows like low commitment here.
No. He says that, yeah, of course we will. Of course. We just might not find the island again.
He's like, yeah, we'll look for a while. But I mean, I do got to show you those buildings in New York,
The architecture, man. Daddy, how old do you think little Turnip Head is now? It's been like 15 years. Now, my boy, look at Chrysler Building.
This shit looks like an iron. So he begins to jump down from the raft. He's sort of like mid-sentence, but then he stumbles and he cuts himself off and he slips a bit.
Yeah, he ain't doing too good.
Yeah, he's feeling a bit dizzy. And he tries again with the out sentence, if you don't get it the first time. But then he cuts himself off again, doubles over, and he's in a bad way. And he sort of manages to get out. Get Jack! Tells Walt to get Jack, the doctor. So Walt pegs it up to Son and Kate in the garden, and Kate says she'll take it from here, while Son and Walt go back and tend to Michael. And Kate begins to run through the jungle, shouting for Jack. But Jack's not around. He's too busy in another plot that we actually care about.
Yeah. As we've referred to it in the past, hot, steamy hatching.
Damn right. It's getting hot at the hatch indeed, because he's grilling Locke and he's asking him questions. Locke says he's been working the hatch for about 3 weeks. And Jack asks Locke why he didn't tell him. And Locke says, all due respect, but since when do I report to you?
Yeah, Locke is well able for Jack in this scene.
Yeah.
Like, Jack is asking a lot of damn good questions, but Locke has some fucking great answers for him.
Yeah, it's a great little scene. Jack counters the Locke is a liar, liar, pants on fire. And Locke returns the jab. He says Jack kept the gun case a secret until he felt it necessary to share that with the group. And I'm like, damn, I don't know if I would have even thought of that.
Yeah, but he actually spins that answer slightly. He does throw it back in Jack's face, like, how long did you keep those guns a secret? But he finishes it off with saying, you used your best discretion and I used mine. So by adding that line in at the end, he's saying to Jack, you kept those guns a secret, right? You weren't wrong to do so. So who's to say I'm wrong for doing this? You used your best discretion. I used mine.
Yeah, it's really great. He's not being confrontational. He's constructing an argument, basically.
Yes, there you go.
So yeah, he does say this thing about the gun case, and Jack probably thinks, fair enough, yeah. And so now he's on board.
Yeah, he kind of realizes he's not getting any further on that.
And then he wins us over, Jack does, because he asks, how do we open it? And Saeed can't fucking believe this.
Yeah.
And I can't fucking believe this. Saeed wants to keep that motherfucker shut. And in this moment, I think everybody watching is hoping that there's some curse that comes with being intimately involved with Shannon. That's what killed Boone. And now it takes out Saeed. Because anyone who doesn't want this fucking hatch open is not our friend.
But like, what was Saeed expecting to happen bringing Jack to the hatch?
Yeah,
Honestly.
I don't know. Maybe he was hoping that Jack would see it his way. Jack posits that the best case scenario, there's supplies in there, and the worst case scenario, they can use it as a shelter. So he thinks it's a win-win. And Saeed, however, says that he can think of a lot worse.
Like?
Well, he mentions that it has no handle, so maybe it wasn't supposed to be open from the outside.
Okay.
Give me some theories here.
It contains a great big monster. It's I don't know. What the fuck is Saeed thinking it could be in there?
COVID-19.
Ooh.
Seriously, though, my main theory was that Danielle has mentioned a sickness. Maybe he thinks that it was used to quarantine people from that.
Oh, shit. That is dark. I did not think of that.
Maybe he thinks, I don't know how cartoonish this is, but that there could be an airborne illness in there that gets out. Or like I said, maybe people were kept in there to stop this disease from spreading. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
A shit ton of bodies.
Yeah, could be. We cut to the three boys. They're walking back towards the beach camp and they hear Kate shouting for Jack. I'm like, how fucking long has she been doing that? Like, fair play to her. She doesn't give up. And they meet up with her. Kate brings them back to Mike, and Mike is fucking suffering here. He's in bits. He's in a lot of pain. Jack tells him to take it easy and to stay in the shade. But Mike's raft work doesn't come with paid sick leave, and it's got to launch tomorrow.
Yep.
Jack insists that Mike has to lay down, and then he fucks off. And Walt looks pretty scared.
Yeah, like this is the first time he's seen his dad in proper danger, right? And what makes it all the more terrifying is that he doesn't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is.
It came on quickly. It's mysterious. No apparent origin. Kate comes over to comfort Michael, but you can tell her heart's not in it because she decides to flash back in that moment. And we cut to a fridge with a bunch of pictures of kids on it. And Kate's examining this, and she's in Dr. Tom's gaff, it looks like. He's on the phone. And he's talking to someone about doing a favor for a friend of a friend with an MRI machine. And presumably this is about Diane, right? He's doing, and the friend of a friend.
Yeah, whoever this Diane is.
So he hangs up and he notices Kate's looking at the pictures. He says his kid's name is Connor. And Kate says the kid's beautiful. And Tom credits his wife, Rachel, for that. And Rachel's conveniently out of town right now.
I'm sure that won't lead to anything.
Tom confirms he's pulled some strings for Diane and she'll be on an MRI machine in 3 hours. And I'm like, damn, this dude has fucking clout.
Right?
That is a quick turnover. Kate then asks Tom if she thinks it's still there. We're not really told what she's talking about. And when Tom sort of expresses this reluctance to check, she says, they might not get another chance and they got some time to kill anyway.
Yeah, it's the middle of the night. So what is it? It's 2 a.m.?
Yeah, and I think the MRI was scheduled for 5. So yeah, that would be about right.
It would take a fucking lot to get me out of the house at 2 a.m. in the fucking morning
right.
If I didn't have to.
Anyway, we cut to a tree on a misty moor and there's some bulls next to it. And Katie and Tom pull up in a car. They get out and Tom's got a couple of shovels. and Kate counts a certain number of paces away from the tree, and then they start digging. And the music does a weird thing here where I'm like, they're trying to lead us to think that they're digging up a dead body or something, right?
I mean, not really. All I could think of was Shawshank Redemption.
I don't know, just the way the music goes, it makes it sound sinister. I thought like maybe they're trying to fake us out with it could be nodding to Kate's crime or whatever, but obviously it didn't work for me. And especially knowing what was coming. And even if I was a first time viewer, I don't know if I would have thought that.
If this was Kate on her own, 100%, I would believe it's a dead body that they're digging up. But the fact that Tom is there with him, goody two shoes, he's a doctor, he's got a wife and kids, and whatever it is they're digging up, he knows about it. It's not a body.
And as we return to the island, they have a sort of Archer-esque transition here because they're digging up the thing, and then we hear John Locke's voice going, "What do you think it is?"
Oh, brilliant. I did not catch that.
That's a great example of how Archer would do it, something like that. And then we cut to the beach. John Locke's following Jack, asking about Michael. So he says, "What do you think it is?" We cut to them, and then he adds, "Heat stroke." He's basically questioning Jack on what he thinks is wrong with Mike. Jack's kind of going, I don't know, quit badgering me. And then he starts digging in this cooler of water bottles, and he pulls out an empty one, and he examines it, and he shows it to Locke. It's got some shit caked on the bottom of it, like some white powdery substance.
Heroin.
Anyway, Jack reckons this is the source of Mike's sickness. He heavily implies that he was drugged. We cut to this lovely wide shot of the raft being worked on. This looked like a painting to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. It's just framed so beautifully.
It was really nice. We have sort of Mike lying again a tree in the shadows, and the raft is there. It's a really beautiful shot. Shout out to our boy Tucker Gates, as well as the cinematographer who worked on this episode. No idea who he is.
The unsung hero.
Yeah. The nurse to the director's doctor. And Jack approaches Mike and he asks if he's feeling any better. And Mike says he's all good as long as he doesn't move or breathe. And I was reminded of your back troubles you discussed in the last episode.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
On the other side of the raft, Hurley's like talking shite to Locke. And we don't quite get keen into their conversation yet. But Mike asks Jack if him and Locke are cool now. And Jack says, nah, not yet. I mean, he doesn't say not yet, but that's implied. It hasn't been forgive and forget just yet. And Mike's about to take another drink, but Jack stops him and he gives him a bottle that he brought. And Mike's pretty sharp here, despite his sickness. He immediately cops it that Jack thinks maybe someone spiked his water.
Yeah. You think someone did this to me?
And Jack is not jumping to conclusions, but Michael totally is. And he's straight up blames Sawyer.
Ah, come on.
So we cut to Locke and Hurley's conversation. Locke's sort of canvassing Hurley about Mike and Jin's relationship. He's doing like the detective work, the deputy work for Jack. And Jack approaches. He says that Mike suspects Sawyer, and Hurley theorizes that it's because of Kate. And then he wonders aloud, I wonder did Kate poison him? And Locke asks, oh, why would Kate do it? And then Hurley lets slip that Kate is a fugitive.
Yep. And then, yeah, it's just the look on Jack's face. Like, Jack just kind of goes, wow.
For fuck's sake. And Locke is like, what? And Hurley looks awkward as fuck here.
I love it.
And then he first starts like, how am I supposed to keep things straight?
Ever the voice of the show. Yeah. How am I supposed to know who knows what around here? Steve didn't even know about the polar bear.
The standout line here. And now, like, this line fucked me right up as well, because I was convinced, like, this Scott and Steve thing totally worked on us. Do you know how you had that trivia point about how the writers couldn't remember which one died? I'm totally lost now. I'm pretty sure last episode or the episode before, you said it was Steve with not 100% degree of certainty, but pretty certain. But now this implies that it was Scott because Steve Hurley speaks about him as if he's still alive.
Man, I'm using the names interchangeably for whichever one of them is alive.
Yeah. I just love the sort of how this works on a meta level. And Locke sort of has this like fucking satisfied look on his face, like, keeping more secrets, Jack, are you? And Locke is basically stacking up the secrets that Jack has been keeping from everyone here. And it puts him in somewhat of a better position, but I mean, Locke still more or less is responsible for Boone's death. So I don't know how he should be repenting more than trying to gotcha his way out of this.
Yeah, he's really taken on a fucking holier than thou response with this.
Yeah, not a good look. We cut to Charlie, and he's at a listening party for his new album with Aaron, with Turnip Head. He's strumming away on his guitar, and Claire's cutting his hair while he's in the zone, sort of writing tunes. And Charlie asks Claire what's the first thing she'll do after getting rescued. And she's not really sure. She says she doesn't know. And he invites her and Turnip Head to stay with him in LA.
Ah, that's so sweet.
And then he proceeds to say, all right, here's track 2. It's called Monster Eats the Pilot.
Yeah, but hang on a sec. Does he have a place in LA? I thought he was back home in England because he's broke as fuck now and a druggie. Or is he saying that he's going to make millions from this comeback track, that he's going to get a place in LA and she can come stay with him?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's it. Yeah, because you're right. In Charlie's last flashback episode, he was sort of down on his luck, trying to con people out of shit for money, right?
Exactly. He puked in a fucking copier machine.
We cut to Jack and Kate in the caves, and she asks after Michael, and she starts questioning, like, is someone going to take his place on the raft? She starts to justify it. And then Jack just asks her point blank, did you poison Michael, Kate?
Yeah, that's like, there's an expression that I think came from poker, to hold your cards close to your chest. That is Kate holding her cards to her chest the wrong way around. Like, she's just flat out practically telling Jack what her motive is here.
Yeah, and then she straight up turns the question on Jack. She acts really insulted. Maybe she's insulted. And she asks him if he thinks that she's capable of that.
Way to not answer the fucking question, Kate.
And Jack says he doesn't know what she's capable of, which is fair.
This, I think, is a prime example of the show just inventing drama for the sake of it.
Yeah, this scene doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's not really doing a whole lot for Kate either, because she turns away and walks into a flashback. And herself and Tom are still digging, and Tom cracks a can and he tosses her one. They're drinking a couple of Dutchies, and he confirms that they're in Iowa, which maybe if you're an American, you could have told that from the cornfields at the start. I'm not really sure. But Iowa, we do know, is where Kate is from. So I think this is her hometown. And Tom confirms that several seconds later.
Yeah, he does say it. He says, it's not fair that she came home.
Yeah, it's not fair. You're coming back home. And Kate agrees with him. She says, yeah, it's not. And then her shovel hits something solid, and she pulls from the ground a small old metal box.
Well, hang on. Back up. What does he mean by it's not fair that she came home?
I'm guessing it's because...
I'm glad that you're guessing and that you don't know, because I haven't a fucking clue. I was starting to feel stupid watching this scene for a sec.
Well, we know that she's on the run, right? And Tom knows that she's on the run as well. It's not fair her showing up again. I don't know. Putting them at risk, putting their lives in danger, putting them at risk of getting in trouble as an accessory. That would be my guess.
Yeah, maybe.
But also maybe that they had all sort of made peace with the fact that she was gone forever, and now she's showing up and stirring up emotions again.
Yeah, well, let's find out a little bit more about their history together, shall we?
Yes, let's. So this small metal box that she pulls from the ground, close-up shows that it's a New Kids on the Block lunchbox. And Kate opens it up to reveal a hat.
That's a sweet hat.
After whatever the case may be, and this, I don't know why Jack and Sawyer want Kate so bad, because every box she opens up is disappointing. Anyway, all right.
Bravo.
But anyway, it's more than just a hat. It becomes apparent that this is like a time capsule that they buried. And Tom pulls out his fucking plane.
Hey, there it is.
So there's an unspoken implication. I guess an implication is inherently unspoken, but there's an implication here that, in whatever the case may be, when pressed by Jack, Kate said that
this is not an unspoken thing. It was said.
Yeah. Kate said, well, it's unspoken in this scene. Kate said that this plane belonged to the man that she loved and the man that she killed. So Kate, in this moment, we're led to believe both loved and will kill.
As soon as this Tom guy claimed ownership of that plane, his days were numbered.
Yeah. His death sentence was signed. So she pulls out this little tape and reads the title. She says, Kate and Tom, 1989. And then they're sitting in the car, Tom's car, they're playing the tape. And the recording is from August 15th, 1989. Did you catch the numbers there?
Oh, fuck, I never do.
American date format, 8/15, August 15th. Yeah, and this tape is a little bit cringe. This is, I think we discussed this before, but child actors really weren't what they are now back then.
Yeah.
The whole thing seems very forced, but it basically establishes that these two were sort of a thing as far back as
Childhood sweethearts.
yeah, as far back as 15 years ago. And they thought they'd be together by the time they listened to this tape. They also thought they were going to listen to the tape in 2009.
Man, how cringy must that have been? Like, if that was real, sitting next to that person, listening to this tape of the two of you together from years ago, thinking that you're going to be together. And I thought it was cringy at first, but then Tom in the tape goes on to say shit like, of course we're going to listen to this together because in 20 years we're going to be married and have kids and shit like that. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, you're right. It sucks because Tom mentions that he wants to settle down, but Kate mentions that she wants to run away. She wants to leave that town, born to run. And young Tom says, Kate always wants to run away. And young Kate replies, yeah, you know why. And then the tape stops. And yeah, all I could think was fucking dumb. What like, they were kids. They wouldn't just record that bit. It purely serves to sort of add this like mystery of, oh, Tom knows why, but we don't. And then the tape stops and it's like, I don't know. I thought it was stupid.
I mean, who was it? J.J. Abrams himself said it before. And I think it was long after Lost came out. He says that his style of storytelling is the mystery box or something like that, where the show is metaphorically presenting you with a mystery box and is teasing you what's inside the box. Find out next week, right? What's in the box? It's the show is constantly like, as soon as it answers a question, it has to give you another question.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we found out who owns this plane, but why did Kate want to leave town when she was a kid?
Another question arises from that, which is, why should we give a fuck?
Because I do not. I'm struggling to find a single fuck to give.
Yeah, these flashbacks are bad. Tom says it's funny how things turn out. Kate agrees, and then they start shifting.
Oh, Kate just decides to start shifting a married man. Well done.
Yeah. And Kate, all I could think here was, does Kate have a thing for doctors, or do doctors have a thing for Kate? Anyway, it's a lovely, sad kiss. For all the criticisms I've been given of this, this is a nice little moment. Or maybe it's just the music manipulating me. Fucking Giacchino, he always gets me. And then Kate apologizes when they pull away. And Tom doesn't acknowledge it. He just says they better get to the hospital. And they drive off. And there's definitely a chain of events here that ends with a cow getting shot in the head. because they don't fucking fill in that hole at all. They just drive away. Who's to say one of those poor bulls doesn't trip over and break its leg, and then a farmer has to put a bullet in its head?
Oh no, poor bull. That's canon. That is canon.
We cut to Johnny Locke. He's making shite of a coconut, and he's approached by Walt.
He's making some of his special homemade goop.
And Locke is patching up his leg, and Walt asks what happened. Locke said he had an accident, and Walt asks, did it hurt? Does it hurt? And he says, yes, it does. And he gives his lovely Locke smile.
Yeah, but isn't that the injury he got without realizing he got it?
Yeah, I was going to say, is this from him fucking with his leg when he couldn't feel it that time? Or is it from the shrapnel from the trebuchet, maybe?
Either way, whenever he got this, it didn't hurt when he got it.
Yeah, and now it does.
I'm fucking sure.
And I guess that's why he's happy about it, because he can feel his legs again, right?
Yeah, he's bloody delighted. Anytime he can still feel his legs, he feels like the island has him on a path.
And has given him legs to walk that path. So Locke asks Walt what's up, and Walt quotes Bart Simpson. He says, I didn't do it. And Locke probes him. He's like, what the fuck are you on about? And Walt says he didn't poison his owl lad. And this is like a nice little logical leap for Walt's character here, I thought, because, you know, Locke pretty much figured out that he burned the first raft. So, of course, he's going to be proactive about this and go, okay, look, I know I did some shit before, but you have to believe me this time.
Yeah, Walt is very eager to let Locke know that he's not the poisoner in this scene. He just comes straight out with it.
And Locke says he knows that Walt wouldn't hurt his dad. He's really comforting here. He grabs his arm in an attempt to sort of make him feel better. But something happens with Walt when Locke does this.
That boy ain't right.
he looks freaked. He's freaking out. And he pulls his arm away from Locke, like, immediately. And Locke asks him what the matter. And Walt just says 3 words. He says, don't open it.
Do you want to expand on that, kid?
Yeah, that's pretty much what Locke says. And Walt says, don't open that thing. Locke questions it again, but Walt is adamant. He says, just don't open it.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Don't open what? Like, don't just say, don't open it again. I don't know what you're talking about. Your instructions are meaningless unless you refer to the specific thing.
Wait, are you being serious here?
Like, if I was Johnny Locke, that's what I'd be fucking saying.
Nah, John Locke knows as well as we do. This kid is talking about the hatch, right?
I mean, sure, of course he's talking about the hatch, but I want the kid to expand on what he's talking about and why.
Well, we don't get that chance because we cut to Sawyer giving Mike some stomach medicine. And Mike is all pissy. He's like, you feeling guilty? And Sawyer has no idea what he's talking about. But Mike says he's off the raft. The fucking deal is off.
Yeah, he's been voted off.
And Sawyer's confused as fuck. And Mike calls him a criminal. And when Sawyer squares up to him, Jin fucking jumps in and pushes Sawyer, solidifying the broship with Mike.
Oh, yeah. They're like a real little married couple now.
Full fucking circle.
Jin has jumped the sun ship and straight onto Mike's raft. This is beautiful right here.
He flew too close to the sun. I don't know. There's a joke in there somewhere. Sawyer says, "Get your hands off me, boy." Oof. To Jin. And then he grabs Kate and brings her over to Mike to set things straight. And he tells Kate to tell Michael who the real criminal is.
Yeah, he's got a fucking bone to pick with Kate now. He's sore from being thrown off the boat. He thinks it's Kate's fault. Well, by golly, she's going to pay for it.
She's going to pay. He grabs her bag and then he plays a little keep away. And then he dumps the contents out onto the beach and he shows everyone the passport that Kate was tampering with earlier. And it turns out that this passport belongs to fucking Joanna, the woman who died in episode 4 that Boone tried to save and that Jack saved Boone in Boone's failed attempt.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think this passport thing is genius. I think this is a really good idea from Kate. Great way for the writers to incorporate. Like,
it's a great callback.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. This is really decent writing here. And Sawyer calls Kate out to everyone and he says she only cares about herself. And Kate considers this and she takes some time to flash back to a hospital where Tom and another doctor are wheeling this lady out of a room on a hospital bed. And Tom sort of gets rid of the other doctor. He's like, why don't you go take 5? I got it from here. And Kate emerges from this door looking kind of shady. And Tom leaves her alone with the woman on the bed. And Kate approaches her. And this woman, it's a middle-aged white lady. And presumably this is Diane, right? And Kate looks a little bit scared of her at first. She's almost like there's some trepidation when she approaches her. And then she says, "Hi, Mom."
And there it is. Diane is Kate's mom, as if we couldn't figure that out from the beginning of the episode.
So she asks her ma if she can hear her. Like, can you hear me? But Diane seems pretty out of it. Until suddenly there's like a flicker of recognition in her eyes. And Kate takes her hand and she says, "It's me, Catherine."
Yeah, it's actually Diane who calls her Catherine first. And Kate's like, "Yeah, it's me, Catherine."
Right,
and I'm like, "Catherine? Really?
Catherine Austin."
She's been called 4 different names in this one episode. Kate, Katie, Catherine, Joan. She was going to go by Joanne. She loves a good old nom de plume, doesn't she?
Kate then apologizes for what she put her ma through and then she starts crying.
Yeah, it's a very weepy apology. Whatever it is, it's something serious.
Again, Miss Lily, loving the tears. And a tear runs down Diane's face. And then she starts crying for help as much as her broken, weak voice would allow.
This was heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, it really was. She seems like she's in a lot of distress. And Kate thought they were having a tender moment. It turns out Diane's fucking terrified here. The other doctor from before shows up and Kate just fucking boots it.
Yeah, so for what reason is the mom crying for help? What did Kate do? We still don't know.
There's some implication here, maybe from what she said to Tom on the tape. You know why she wants to run away. Maybe there's some bad blood there, some history. But Kate's also apologizing here. So we're left with more questions than answers. She's running. She bumps into a security guard and he won't let her leave. He takes out his walkie-talkie to report the situation and Kate fucking clocks him with it.
Yeah, no, that security guard is pretty fucking savvy. Like, he hears someone crying for help. She comes out and she's like, "Oh, it's my mom. I'm just going to get a doctor." No, that security guard full on grabs her right around the arm, holds her in place. And he's like, no, you're going nowhere. And is on the walkie-talkie straight away. The Mikey.
He's a lot less dumb than these little bit parts usually are.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kate does manage to get the upper hand on him. She legs it. Tom shows up and Kate says that she needs his car keys. And the two of them peg it into the car park, and we hear sirens sounding in the background. And they hop into Tom's fucking
Sirens,
Beamer.
which came fucking quick.
Yeah, right? I guess like maybe there's a special hospital unit or something, like emergency services.
I reckon one of the nurses spotted something and hit a panic button, maybe.
That could be it. So they hop into Tom's Beamer. Kate's in the driver's seat, and they speed down through the parking garage, but there's a squad car blocking their exit. And a cop hops out, another fucking mountain.
I love how you almost tried to dodge saying parking lot, but then you changed it to parking garage, as if we don't say car park.
Car park.
It's a car park.
Well, it's an indoor one, you know. I would, when I think of car park, I think of a big, wide, outdoor
multi-story car park.
Multi-story car park. There you go. I knew there was a term I was missing. So, like I said, a cop hops out. He starts calling for backup. Kate's telling Tom to get the fuck out the car. You know, this isn't his problem, but he refuses, and it kind of is his problem. It's his fucking car.
Yeah.
Kate can't wait any longer. She floors the accelerator, smashes through the barrier of the car park, and the cop starts firing his weapon. She smashes his car out of the way, the cop, and speeds off. But then she collides with another vehicle, and she turns around to Tom, about to go, how crazy was that shit?
Oh, she just makes an absolute bags of it entirely.
Yeah. She turns around, and Tom is not conscious, and in fact is very dead, it appears. I couldn't tell. Like, was there a bullet in his chest? I thought that. Or was it like from the impact of the car crash? Yeah, he got shot, right? That seems like
straight up.
That seems like the quickest way to do it. Kate doesn't have time to check if he's dead, although I think it's pretty safe to assume that he is, or at least.
I know, yeah. She like touches him, sees the blood. He's out cold. It's safe to say he, like, that motherfucker gone.
And this sort of answers another question for us, at least about what Kate did, what it's not, because she said before that she killed Tom. She kind of meant her actions killed him. She didn't kill him directly.
I mean, he almost brought it on himself. He wouldn't get out of the car. She tried.
She doesn't really have time to mull it over, though, because the cops are fast approaching. She grabs Tom's plane. It's the only thing she has time to take. And she fucking hoofs it away down. What do you call that? It's like a flood canal or something, right?
Slipway?
Slipway? Okay, yeah, fair enough. I always just think of GTA San Andreas.
Oh, no, it's not a slipway. Slipway is something entirely different. Slipway is a ramp that goes from the land into the water that you use to put a boat into the water.
Flood drains, maybe, something like that. Back on the island, we're done with this flashback. Back on the island, Sawyer asks Kate why she has to run so bad. And Kate owns up to being a fugitive. She comes out to the group. She doesn't say what she did, but she does use the word supposedly. She says what I supposedly did.
Yeah, but she makes a face when she says the word supposedly, like to throw it in Sawyer's face that you don't fucking know what I did.
But she's quite insistent, despite all that, despite her fugitive status, the sort of shadiness, the lying. She's pretty insistent that she did not poison Michael.
Yeah, but I don't know if the rest of the gang believe her.
It's enough to sort of get Mike to drop the situation. He gives Sawyer the passport. He walks away. And suddenly everyone's giving Kate the stink eye and they're backing away. You know, Charlie and Claire look a bit scared. Shannon looks disgusted. And Kate's fucking persona non grata. And she stares at Tom's plane, which is sitting in the sand.
Persona non grata. She is hostis humani generis, if ever there was one. Now, you see, you're not the only one who can pull out fancy fucking Latin terms.
Do you want to explain yours, young man?
Hostis humani generis is, it's an old, really old naval term, I think. Really, really old naval legal term for someone who is basically an outlaw, someone who could be arrested by the authorities of whatever port they did pull into. Directly translates as enemy of the people.
Man, people are always one-upping me on Latin knowledge. E280?
Well done. Well done.
So later, the boys are loading a cabin up onto the raft. It's like the finishing touch, the fucking cherry on top. And Son is watching. Jack approaches her, and they briefly discuss Jin and how she doesn't want him to leave. And Jack figures out that Son was the poisoner, but her target was actually Jin.
How in the blue fuck did he figure that out?
Mary Souness?
Yeah, there you go. It's his Peggy Souness.
He's a relative of Graham Souness.
Who's Graham Souness?
He's a footballer. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Who does he play for?
So Son basically folds faster than Superman on laundry day here. She owns up to it. She says she didn't want him to die out there. And then she starts crying. and say she never wanted to hurt him. And Jack says, your secret's safe with me, but you do have to accept that Jin's leaving and you have to say goodbye and give him one for me.
No, she doesn't. She can do whatever the fuck she wants, and he ought to know his place, okay?
We cut to this delicious sunset shot of the beach. Come on, Tucker. And then that night, Kate is poking at a fire, the fire being her favorite place to think. We see her doing that a lot. And Sawyer approaches her and he says he's back on the raft. He's got his spot back and they're leaving tomorrow. And he doesn't apologize. He says he was only acting on her threat.
Yeah, sorry, don't suit him.
Kate asks him the question we're all wondering, or at least I'm wondering, why do you want to be on the raft so bad? And Sawyer says there ain't anything on the island worth staying for.
Well, dude, the amount of clunge. Like, get real. You've got Kate there. Claire is, I'm sure, looking for others besides fucking Charlie. Son has recently just become single. Come on, there's a whole host of them.
And if Sawyer's got a massive hog, I mean, Claire would be perfect.
Shannon's just become single. Like, fuck, man, the choices. What do you mean there's nothing worth staying for?
Rose might be looking for a bit while she waits for her husband.
That's true. Also recently single.
Although she refuses to accept it, but hey.
Yeah.
Sawyer could kick off that rebound.
When she sees that hog, you know? I'm just saying. Also, when did we start referring to Sawyer's penis specifically as the hog?
At night, you think we would have called Locke's penis the hog. So there's an awkward silence before Kate tells Sawyer to be safe. And I'm going to ask you for your read on this scene. Because Sawyer says, there's nothing on the island worth staying for. And then, like I said, there's an awkward silence. He's almost waiting for her to respond. And she doesn't give him the satisfaction. She says, be safe, Sawyer. Do you think that maybe Sawyer wants something to happen here? Do you think that maybe he's expecting her to go?
I was fully expecting him to go to Kate by that fireside, expecting one final shag before he jumps on the boat in the morning. That is legitimately, this is like my third or fourth watch through of Lost, and I still thought that's what he was looking for. I even thought it was going to happen.
I think maybe he's trying to, how do I phrase this? Bury the hatchet here, maybe, or basically saying like, listen, you were trying to fuck me over. There's nothing here worth staying for. Whatever we did have, I'm done with it now.
Yeah, they're kind of drawing a line under it. Full stop. That's it.
This is not that they were ever together, but this is fucking breakup island right now. Everybody's splitting. Anyway, back at the raft, Walt hops off. He's been kind of fucking around on it, and he runs up to his dad. He asks him how he's feeling, and Mike's grand. He's feeling much better.
Yeah, he's top of the world now.
And then Walt fucking straight up admits that he burnt the first raft, and he apologizes immediately. And Mike is fucking gobsmacked. He can't believe it. But if you'll recall an earlier episode, we said he leveled up. He got good dad achievement. He immediately forgives him. He's pretty zen here.
This is such a great dad moment, right?
Yeah.
I'd say he wanted to strangle the little cunt at first.
Well, Walt says that he didn't want to leave. And Mike does an amazing thing here. Because at first I thought he forgives him because the raft is built. It doesn't really matter that they don't have the other one anymore because they've got this new one. New and improved, you could argue. But when Walt mentions that he didn't want to leave, Mike says, no, we can stay. We don't have to go, which is incredible. He was doing everything for his son, and his son, says something that implies he wants to go against Mike's wishes. And Mike's like, hey, man, if that's what you want, let's do that. But Michael says they don't have to go. And Walt very seriously and Giacchino-ly says, yes, we do. And by Giacchino-ly, I mean the music sting is like, it makes it sound really, really ominous. And Walt is pretty insistent. And after his last scene with Locke, we know he's seen some shit. He's pretty confident now that staying, not a good idea. Not good juju. We cut to another scene with Cade. We're tired of her by now. But Sun approaches her and she says, oh shit, Jack knows. Jack knows that I poisoned Jin, but I didn't tell him, Kate, that it was your idea.
Oh, reveal.
Oh shit. Reveal. To be honest, it felt a bit flat for me. I was like, I still don't really care. I guess it's the writers trying to do like a double cross or a double turn. Like, oh, it wasn't Kate after all. Oh, but she was involved. I don't know. Didn't work all that well for me. Kate says that Jack is good at keeping secrets, and I couldn't help but think the subtext here was unlike Sawyer, who just fucking outed me as a fugitive.
Even makes his own shit up when it suits him.
And Sun says when she was a little girl, she believed that when she found a man, she'd be happy forever. And Kate says, yeah, me too. And that's the end of the episode.
That's it. Like,
Bit
Oh.
anticlimactic. Lost. Yeah, man. I'm starting to see why you don't like hate episodes. Like I said at the top, there wasn't a whole lot to this one, I thought. I don't know. There were things to like. There was a couple of times where we said, "Oh, this is good," while we were recapping it. But overall, it fell a bit flat for me. I remember thinking after whatever the case may be, you could cut that episode and the plot wouldn't change at all. I don't quite think that about this one. There's definitely the plot's definitely been moved forward a bit in this one, but it's not a strong episode compared to the rest of the season. What do you think?
It was just such a painful fucking episode to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still an episode of Lost, so everything that's happening on the island, I am interested, I'm invested in it, but it's a filler episode. Nothing happens here except it's an in-between episode. Think of everything that actually happens on the island. All of the new and important information that's revealed to the audience, action that's taken, all that really happens is Jack learns about the hatch.
Yeah, I was going to say that's about the only plot moving forward. Yeah, I mean, you could have cut the entire Raft storyline out and just had them ship off. In the next
exactly, because the entire Raft storyline is captain of the Raft gets sick and throws Sawyer off. By the end of the episode, captain of the boat is well again, brings Sawyer back. So by the end of the episode, we're actually at square one to where we were at the beginning of the episode.
Even the Sun and Jin thing, all we learn is their relationship is still strained.
Yeah, like nothing moves forward.
No progression at all. Yeah, you're right. I think a general stink eye with, a couple of things to take maybe, but it gets the thumbs down from Lost the Plot. All right, Ada, we've been talking about Kate long enough. Actually, we're going to keep talking about her because there's trivia around her here.
Holy
but hey,
Jesus.
Are you ready for a bit of trivia?
I am so ready for some trivia. If you'll accept some from me.
Oh, snap. I love when you do this.
Well, it's not really trivia. Okay?
All right, hit me, lad. What you got?
I have great respect for the rules that we have set out for these episodes. You are bringing the episode trivia to me. I am just going to bring a couple of things to you. So first of all, they are called storm drains.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that was buried in the recesses of my brain somewhere. I couldn't pull it up, obviously. But yeah, storm drains. That makes sense.
Second of all, I've got three things. Second of all, Graham Souness is a Scottish former professional football player, manager, and current pundit on Sky Sports, who was captain of the Liverpool team in the early 80s. And third of all, J Boats is an American boat builder based in Newport, Rhode Island.
There you go.
Yeah, company specializes in the design and manufacture of fiberglass sailboats.
All right, well, I'll email Ryan and tell him we're making him redundant.
Budget cuts, baby.
All right, you ready for this trivia?
Hit me.
Okie dokie. So first bit of trivia. Monsoon season, right? If monsoon season really was upon them, then the next few episodes, the last episode of season 1, remember next week is the finale.
Yeah.
And the first few episodes of season 2, which take place directly afterwards, they should have torrential rain downpours, right? That's what monsoon season is.
Sure.
If you watch ahead, and if you're watching with us, please don't. No torrential rain in those episodes. Arts must have been talking absolute brown. Well, the writers have accounted for that. Are you familiar with Lost Missing Pieces?
No.
These were a series of, and what a fucking mid-2000s word this is. These were a series of mobisodes.
Oh, yes. I've seen these.
Yeah. They're a series of sort of short Lost episodes. They were put online between seasons 3 and 4, just as kind of filler. I think there was a bit of a delay in season 4. So the writers were tasked with doing this shit. And yeah, they're basically just little, almost like deleted scenes, but they filmed them later. There is one set around the time of this episode. So the Lost Missing Pieces mobisode, Tropical Depression, and this is on YouTube. It's about 5 minutes long. So if you're interested in watching it, go ahead.
Oh, nice.
Dr. Arts admits and apologizes to Michael that he made up the entire monsoon thing because he wanted the raft to leave immediately.
Oh, okay.
That's how they retconned their explanation for no monsoon season, basically.
So it was Arts just talking out of his hole.
Pretty much, yeah. It's pretty funny, Mobisode, if you want to go and watch it. Like, Arts starts shiting on about how he went to Australia to meet a woman that he met online and how she was beautiful, but how he had used a photo of himself when he was much younger, and she basically straight up rejected him because he was an old man.
Oh.
And also, funny thing to note here is that you can tell that this was filmed at a completely different time because Michael has a full beard and he does not have one in the episode.
Well, I remember these mobisodes, or some of them, I think. There's one of them that shows Ethan and Jack interacting back when Ethan's still infiltrating the group.
Yeah.
They just look so fucking different, right? Ethan has, I think, like this, or William Mapother, he's got like this weird ass wig on him, or else just the worst haircut ever.
He was probably filming like a Mad Max movie or something at the time, and he had a mohawk. So they're like, "Here, we need you to come down for fucking 10 minutes to film this mobisode." And he's like, "Right, two things: I've got a mohawk, and what the fuck is a mobisode?"
What is a mobisode? Like, what does that work for? Like for your mobile?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a portmanteau of. Fuck, I don't even know. They were available exclusive to Verizon wireless users. So maybe
there you go.
It was like mobile webisode or something like that. I don't know. They are considered canonical, by the way, because they were written by the Lost writers. And actually, a little side note about those mobisodes, if you don't mind me saying, I'll actually read this directly from Wikipedia because I didn't write it down, and I think this is just a great little win for unions here. So, quote, the project was announced, these are the Lost Missing Pieces, mobisodes. The project was announced in November 2005 as the Lost Video Diaries. However, production was delayed several times due to contractual restrictions. Lost's writer-producers originally proposed the mobisodes as a self-contained story that would focus on two previously unseen characters of the Lost fictional universe. These characters would be played by actors who were not part of the Screen Actors Guild. However, the entertainment guilds refused to support such a project. After months of unsuccessful negotiating, the series was seemingly shelved by ABC. In June 2007, it was announced that the mobisodes, which would be renamed Lost Missing Pieces, would star the regular characters of Lost in 13 short video clips unrelated to each other. So, hell yeah, a little union victory there.
Brilliant. I love it.
Next bit of trivia. Beth Broderick is the actor who plays Kate's Ma. Does that name ring a bell to you?
Beth Broderick? No.
She is most well known for playing Aunt Zelda on Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't recognize her.
Is this your Melissa Joan Hart fucking trivia, man?
That show started Melissa Joan Hart as the titular Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Kate's alias, Joan Hart, is a reference to that.
Oh, no way. That is sick. Now that you mention it, yeah, I'm picturing the woman's face in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that's Aunt Zelda.
That's Aunt Zelda. What a great show that was. That fucking cat Salem was awesome.
Oh man, that is trivia boner right there. That is the shit I am here for.
Yeah, me too. I like that. That's like it's almost like a crocheted bit of trivia or something. You know, it's got layers to it. It's like it like weaves in and out of different parts of the episode. I love it. So this is only one of 3 episodes, 2 really, because the other 2 are pilot part 1 and pilot part 2, to have both a teleplay credit and a story credit. The story is credited to Javier Griot-Marchois, and the teleplay, which is a tele screenplay, is credited to the boys Kitsis and Horowitz.
Oh, interesting.
I guess so.
I don't know what that really means.
Here's a little goof. Not a lot of goofs in this episode, to be honest, and this would be a really nitpicky one, but when Kate is digging up the time capsule, the car, Tom's car, is a later model BMW E34 525i, which has a wide grille. Later on in the chase scene, the car suddenly switches to a narrow grille style seen in earlier E34 models, and then moments later switches back to the wide grille right before she wrecks the car.
Yeah, but how do they even do that? Do they literally swap the cars out? Maybe one's a stunt car for driving.
Yeah, 100%, right? They bought 2 cars. One of them they were going to smash. And I don't know, maybe they had to use the newer one for reshoots or something, or they filmed the crash scene before they filmed the car park escape scene. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right, you ready? Remember that opening scene?
Yes, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I love this
motel.
Shit. The opening scene, like literally the way it is shot and everything, the pan, the motel and everything. It's an homage to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, in which a blonde woman on the run drives into a motel. Even the hair dye draining in the shower references the film's famous shower sequence in which the the blood goes down the drain.
So, do you remember me asking you on a previous episode, not that long ago, if you'd ever seen the movie Moana?
I do. I have no idea where you're going with this. Just so you know, by the way, this trivia point continues, but go on.
And do you remember what your response to that was?
Oh, that I'd never seen it.
Yeah, you said that Moana was a cultural blind spot. Well,
yeah,
pretty much all Hitchcock movies are a cultural blind spot to me. I feel so bad not having seen Psycho now.
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't seen it either. I've watched some Hitchcock. I've never seen Psycho, but surely I think just because it's been parodied so much is how I know it. The scene where the blood goes down the drain. It's the bump bum bump bum.
Our favorite term this season is cultural osmosis.
Oh, drink them if you got them. Yeah, pretty much. I think I've seen bits of that movie, like it was on or whatever, and I've never sat down and watched it the whole way through. But yeah, this bit of trivia continues. So the film in the motel is called the Bates Motel, I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And we got a little Giacchino pun here because the music that plays during that scene is called Kate's Motel.
Ah, nice.
And it even incorporates elements from the film score, from Psycho's score.
Oh shit! Wow, it's a full-on homage.
Yeah. Finally, last bit here.
So happy.
Yeah. Finally, post Lost, Carlton Cuse produced a TV series based on Psycho called Bates Motel. Have you seen this?
I haven't. No, people have been telling me to watch it.
I watched most of it. I never finished it for whatever reason. I don't think I watched the last season, but it's a really good show. It's a modern sort of retelling. It's set in the modern era. That show also starred your boy Nestor Carbonell.
Oh, I love Nestor Carbonell.
He would later play Richard Alpert. I mean, he would earlier than Bates Motel, but he shows up in Lost later on as a character.
Mr. Guyliner himself. He's also, I mean, I know it's so obvious. Actors have careers, all that jazz. Of course, he's going to be in other things, but I always know him as what's his name in Lost again? You literally just said it.
Richard Alpert.
Richard Alpert in Lost. And second of all, I know him as the mayor of Gotham in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he's a good actor. He's
brilliant. I mean, I don't know him from too many projects, but he's one of my favorite actors. From
what I can remember, and it's been a while since I watched Bates Motel, he plays the most dry, fucking serious character ever in that show.
That's a shame.
I don't think he cracks. No, I mean, it's a good performance, but I don't think he cracks a smile the entire series. Couple more trivia points, and then we can leave this Kate episode behind forever, okay?
Yes, go for it.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Sawyer refers to Jin as Sulu. Jin is Korean. Hikaru Sulu is a Japanese character from the original Star Trek series. So it's a little racist. Sawyer likes his racist nicknames.
He does indeed.
Funny enough, Daniel Day Kim has played 2 different Star Trek characters during his career, although neither were related to Sulu, Hikaru Sulu. So he played the astronaut Gotana Retz in the 2000 Voyager episode, the year 2000, Star Trek Voyager episode Blink of an Eye, and he played Corporal Change in 3 episodes of Star Trek Enterprise in 03-04. So this was pre-Lost Daniel Day Kim career. He was in 2 different Star Trek series.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah, pretty awesome. All right, last trivia point. I had to really scrape for this one because I try now to include a trivia point that I know is going to annoy you.
Go on.
So in Kate and Tom's childhood treasure box is a Minnie Mouse figure. And we later see this in the back seat of Tom's car.
Uh-huh.
ABC, which aired Lost, is owned by Disney.
Don't fucking... Oh, God.
That's not my favorite one. I much preferred my one about Ian Somerhalder and needing blood as a vampire. But there
I honestly thought you were going to say something about how Lost is now on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there you go. That's the reason, right? Because it's owned by Disney, ABC.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's my last bit of non-trivia. That wraps up our trivia section. that wraps up our episode 80. Next week is our mother flipping finale. It's our last episode, unless we decide.
Shit.
Yeah, unless we decide it's too long and we split it into two. But we're going to try not to do that. We're going to try and keep it tight, maybe a bit longer than normal because it's a finale. We're going to have some fun. But goddamn, we've been saying it for a while now. We're in the home stretch. Here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Nope.
Not me neither. But I can't wait. We will see you back here next week. Thank you for listening today. As per usual, please share this with any Lost fans in your life and share it with some non-Lost fans. Maybe people can get into Lost. And hey, make sure to watch the finale before next week's episode. It's a 2-parter. It aired as originally, but it's a 3-parter on Disney Plus if you're watching on there. So put aside some time if you're going to watch it. Maybe Ada will discuss that more next week. Anyway, that's about it from us. Ada, thank you for your time as always. What is your theory this week?
My theory this week is that because we haven't heard anything from him, my theory is that Jorge Garcia is ignoring us so that he can drink cans with us on the season 6 finale.
Shit. You know, ironically, we forgot to do the Jorge Garcia drop on the drunk episode last week.
I know. I thought of it earlier on this episode. I was like, shit. That would have been the episode.
Yeah. Do you know what though? It's because it was too painful. We were drinking cans without him. We just couldn't bring it up. Anyway, that'll do it from us this week. Ada, thanks a million. And remember, you haven't lost anything till you've lost the plot. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Lost the Plot is produced by me and Ado. The artwork is by Jimmy Purcell of BeenBetterComic.com. The music is by Noel Brennan of No Exit. You can check out No Exit wherever you stream your music. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LostThePlotLads, and you can email us at losttheplotlads@gmail.com.